Hey everyone, welcome back to the Light Up Your Metabolism podcast. I am so excited to welcome my guest today, Roudy Nassif. He is returning for a second time on the podcast. I interviewed him probably about 2 years ago now, and I was just starting to learn about light and its effects on blood sugar and insulin and cortisol and our sleep and all sorts of things. And I had won actually a pair of VivaRays glasses, he is the founder of the company VivaRays, and I won a pair of these glasses. And I always talk about how I went from trying to remember to wear these glasses to literally not being able to live without them. I don't leave my house without at least one pair of blue blocking glasses because I always find that if I do, I'm sorry for it later because the lights in our modern world are just so abrasive to my body, but also to our physiology. This blue light that we are being inundated with from our screens, from these new LED light bulbs that are everywhere, and our headlights, our street lights, overhead lights, lights in stores, it's not only just uncomfortable to me at least, and many of my clients, it's also driving a lot of dysfunction and causing us to have blood sugar spikes and chronically high cortisol levels and insulin levels. And it's interfering with our sleep, our ability to attend. It's impacting our kids. And so I really am so excited to get Roudy onto the podcast to share his story. It is so powerful, his story of finding how light was impacting him and also really taking a deep dive. This is like a masterclass on blue blocking glasses and on light. You're going to learn so much in this episode, even if you already have a pair of blue blockers, even if you're like, yeah, I don't want to waste my time with those. You are going to learn so much in this episode, and it's really going to start to change your mind as to how you see light at night if you haven't already embraced that already. So I'm super excited to dive into this episode with Roudy Nassif. Thank you so much for being here, for rating, liking, reviewing, sharing the podcast. It really means a lot to me. And thank you so much to all my sponsors for today's episode because I am really, really, really picky with who I let come on the show, things that I mention, products I mention. I only recommend the very, very best. And I really hope that you are loving all the products that I am recommending. And thank you so much for using my codes and supporting my small business. It really means a lot to me. I know your time is very valuable. And thank you again for being here. So without any further ado, here is the conversation I had with Roudy Nassif. Roudy, thank you for being here and welcome back to the Light Up Your Metabolism podcast.
Yes, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you back. I always love talking to you on screen, online, offline. We go deep, but I really am so thankful for your knowledge. And you were one of the first people who I actually started learning about light from. And I actually won these blue blocking glasses that I'm wearing. They're VivaRays, and I won these in a giveaway. And my story with them is that I always say I went from trying to remember to wear them to not being able to live without them. Like I cannot leave my house without a pair of blue blocking glasses, most specifically my orange lenses, because, driving home with the headlights, like lights have changed. And I feel so impacted in a negative way by our modern light environment. And so I'm just so thankful to all the work that you're doing, your amazing company. And I've been like raving about VivaRays, and so many of my clients have had amazing wins from them, like people with insomnia wearing these orange glasses for 3 nights and getting rid of insomnia that they've had for 11 years. That's a new client I have just told me that. And she said that what she realized happened 11 years ago was that she changed out all the lights in her house to LED bulbs. So really cool things happening. And I would love to just start with having you reintroduce yourself to my audience and share your story of what got you into the world of light.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me again. Mm-hmm. And it's an absolute pleasure to see your transformation and how deep and far you've gone from the first time we spoke about light. And it's always a pleasure also to hear all the wonderful stories about the transformation of your clients, which you were telling me about yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So with the topic of light, there was like a turning point in my life that was really transformational. And picture me at 1 a.m., March 2017. I'm laying down in my bed next to my former partner in our dark basement in Canada. And I'm scrolling through my phone. The blue light is shining on my face, and my eyes are burning, and I'm squinting, and I'm feeling drained physically and mentally. Yet, I'm wired and I can't go to bed. Suddenly, a video pops up on my feed. I almost skip it, but then I click. Artificial light is killing us. So I'm squeezing my brain, barely understanding what Dr. Jack Kruse is saying. But then I wake up the second day, and there's this one sentence that keeps echoing in my mind. You can't get healthy in the same light environment that made you sick. And I ask myself, wow, could this be the reason for everything I've been going through? The lack of energy, the constant fatigue, the depression? Could this be it? And spoiler alert, the answer is yes. And over the past 7 years, I've studied the light problem extensively, and I even founded VivaRays to solve it. And today, I'm not going to tell you why the blue light from your phone is hurting your eyes. Because the light problem is a lot more nuanced than just wearing cheap blue blocking glasses during the day and avoiding screens 1 hour before bedtime, which we see like a lot of health experts recommending these 2 steps. And if it was that simple, we wouldn't be even having this conversation. So hopefully today, as we're talking, my intention is to reveal those nuances and to show you why the quality of your life is entirely determined by the quality of light that enters our eyes. So I'd like also to give you a little bit of background of where I come from. As a child, growing up in Lebanon, I was literally the definition of ADHD kid who can't focus. So the classroom left me completely drained, and it felt like a prison cell. And my only escape was to become a troublemaker. One time I literally threw a rotten apple on the board where my teacher is writing. I did crazy things. And by the time I was 17, I've been asked to leave 7 different schools. Now, in retrospect, it's kind of funny. I always wanted to escape school to be outside. And maybe it's because of the light. And then, like, as I grew older, I became a night owl, staying up late, constantly feeling tired, low on energy, and unmotivated all day long. Now, somehow I managed to get an engineering degree. And despite looking like a young, fit, successful engineer on the outside, inside, I was drowning. I lost my job, my health, and my sense of purpose. And no matter what I tried, like martial arts, climbing freezing mountains with Wim Hof, minus 20 degrees in shorts, nothing lasted. And I tried every diet imaginable. I cut out on sugar and processed food. Nothing changed. Then I became a vegan, and that did not work. So I turned into a keto and then carnivore and started the ancestral diet. And I was taking the best adaptogens and supplements for mitochondrial health, sleep, and brain function. But still, I felt the same. So I decided to leave my career and travel to Canada on a tourist visa to start a new beginning. And 3 months later, I'd moved in with my former partner in her dark basement, the same place where I watched that video about artificial lighting. Now, a few weeks after that night, she comes to me with an unexpected surprise. Roudy, pack your stuff, she said. We're going to volunteer on an organic farm in rural Quebec, up northern Quebec. And I'm like, full of doubt, thinking like, volunteering on a farm? I mean, how is this going to help me? But here we are, we're driving for 7 hours from Ontario to Quebec. Literally, the car is bouncing on this dirt road. And when we arrive at night, there's no electricity, no artificial lights, just open, pristine skies. We set up our tent under the twinkling stars, and the only light is coming from the fire flickering in front of us. So it's day one on May 2017. I wake up feeling tired, and my body is like resisting. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to be around people. It's tough. But then on day three, something unexpected happened. I literally wake up with no alarm clock, and for the first time in my life, I feel like a surge of energy. My body feels alive, vibrant, completely rested, and overflowing with joy and motivation. I couldn't help but smile. I mean, wow, this is new. This is different. I open the door of the tent. I step outside, and the world around me is glowing with the soft light of the dawn. The birds are singing. It's mesmerizing. And the night owl in me, who stayed up late until 2 a.m., is now sleeping just after sunset, naturally. Now, one morning, as I was crouched over the ground, weeding the crops, the farmer walks over to me. He places his hand on my shoulder, and he literally says, "What a wonderful focus you got. I've never seen anything like it." And I'm like, I literally froze, like instant tears in my eyes. And I'm like, wow, like a deep moment of realization. I mean, everything I thought was wrong with me, my ADHD, my depression, my chronic fatigue, it was not about me. It was my light environment. It's fascinating. But then when I returned back to the city, you wouldn't believe what happened. Within a matter of few weeks, it all comes crashing back at me. The fog, the exhaustion, the night owl tendencies. And it was like, this moment was radical, because I realized I really need to go deeper. And I literally turned into a mad scientist, with the farm becoming my laboratory. And for over 3 years, I kept going back and forth between the farm and the city consistently, documenting every shift in my energy, in my mood, and my sleep. And I dove into the research, devouring every book I could find about the science of light, so I can solve the light problem. And it was at this moment where I discovered about blue blocking glasses. And I tried so many different brands, and they did not work. And when I got a spectrocalorimeter to measure what the glasses were doing, I could see why. And we're going to cover this today, and I've prepared some graphs to show. But most of them did not do what they advertised to do. So luckily, I met this optical engineer from Florida. He got really intrigued about my discoveries, and he agreed to help me. So we went through a long process of trial and error. And I was in my garage, gloves on, face mask, hunched over, tinting glasses for morning to night. And literally after 9 months of failing over and over again, bam, we got the first pair of circadian glasses that actually work. And for the first time, I had a tool that protect my sleep and hormones from artificial light when I'm in the city. And literally seeing that everybody around me, like my friends and family, they had a light problem. I made about 30 pairs, and I started handing them over. And I also shared with them, perhaps we could share those 7 steps today, but I had shared with them 7 steps to harnessing the power of light. And I was blown away by how quickly they began to heal and reverse their issues. Literally, my mom, who had been struggling with chronic insomnia, I was telling you yesterday, for over 8 years, she started sleeping for 8 hours every night. And my sister, who was working at a bank under artificial lights for 8 hours every single day, she was struggling with acne and chronic fatigue, became the most vibrant and energetic entrepreneur that I know. And a lot of my friends were able to clear off their digestive issues, their inflammation, their anxiety. So I realized, oh, wow, this wasn't just like a personal discovery anymore. It was transforming the life of other people.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? Take us through so you made these glasses, you're seeing other people have these improvements. What is it? Maybe we can talk about the light. How is light so damaging? So for maybe people who haven't heard this before, it's like it's like a lot of people can get behind, okay, I know that food, if I eat, artificial stuff and highly processed, they can make that connection between, I understand that if I eat something that's fake and artificial, that my body maybe doesn't recognize it, maybe it's inflammatory and it would cause digestive issues and blood sugar problems. I think many of us can get behind that pretty easily. But when it comes to light, I mean, my initial thought was, oh, okay, light, but surely food is more important, right? And now I don't think that way anymore. I think, light is just as important, if not even more important than the food that we're consuming. So what is the problem with this artificial light versus the light that we're getting from the sun, natural light?
Yeah, I highly resonate with what you're saying, because essentially, anytime we are speaking about light, people think that light is something superficial that I turn on and off so I can see the world around me. That has no relationship to our biology whatsoever. In fact, everybody who went to medicine or who's done any form of health and wellness practitioner program, we've been taught that physics have no relationship to biology whatsoever, and light is in the realm of physics. It's the environment that we live in. And what I realize is, even me as an engineer, I understood the physics of light very well, but I have never thought that the physics of life is actually instructing and controlling and shaping the environment in which our biology thrive. And if you think about it, light is the language spoken by every living thing on Earth, from the smallest bacteria to the largest mammals. And it has shaped life for billions of years, guiding the growth of the plants, the movement of the animals, the rhythm of the seasons and of the day. So light is not just something that allows you to see the world around you. Burn that into your consciousness. Light is information. And just like the information we allow into our minds can either trap us in fear or empower us, light too is literally a double-edged sword. It can either make you sick or elevate you. And your light environment affects you and I and every human being and every living thing on Earth on a cellular level. More specifically for us humans, the mitochondria, right? So if you come back in history, 1.5 billion years ago, life began as a simple single cell organism in the ocean thriving in darkness. But it wasn't until those bacteria made their way up to the surface and began absorbing sunlight that evolution literally took a massive leap. And this is where plants came, and the animal kingdom, and then the human kingdom. So one bacterium engulfed another bacterium, and this partnership led to the development of what we call the mitochondria. Okay, and those are, like, in simple means, they're tiny little engines inside of every cells that are responsible for producing all of the energy that fuels our life, whether it's thinking, moving, creating, or healing. And if we want to put it in simple ways, no mitochondria, no energy. It's that simple. And in fact, in 2017, I believe, Dr. Douglas Wallace, he won an award for his groundbreaking discovery for showing that 90% of modern chronic diseases, including anxiety, depression, loss of productivity, originate in the mitochondria losing their efficiency.
Mm.
And one main reason they lose their efficiency is lack of sunlight. Now, when I say this, people get lost. How is that? How does that work? Well, Einstein's photoelectric effect shows us how light excites electrons and generate electricity. We know this to be true for plants when they photosynthesize. We know this to be true for solar panels when we put them in the sun and they generate electricity of life. But here's the fascinating thing. It's how your body works too.
Mm-hmm.
And Nobel Prize winner Albert Szent-Györgyi, he literally discovered that sunlight excites the electrons in the electron transport chain of the mitochondria and creates the electricity that the mitochondria needs to break down that food into energy. In fact, it's now scientifically known that 1/3 of the energy we get come from food and 2/3 come from the light. Now, there's one analogy. I think Dr. Jack Ruse used this analogy. I love it a lot. He has you think of your mitochondria as a Ferrari's engine. Mm-hmm. And if you think of an engine of a car, what does it need? It needs fuel, oxygen, and a spark to create internal combustion and burn that fuel into energy. Mm-hmm. Now, your mitochondria also needs fuel in the form of good quality food, oxygen as you breathe, and a spark in a form of light to ignite metabolism. And here's the key. If the ignition system of the car is not working properly, you can put all the fuel that you want. The car will not run.
Right.
So in other words, when people think about diets and supplements and disregard light, you can take all the best supplements, eat the healthiest food on earth, and do the greatest biohacks. But if you have a light problem, your engine will not work effectively.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one of the things that I started understanding as I started learning more about mitochondria and light is that I feel that a lot of people, and this was me too, that when I think about energy, it's like, oh, my energy is pretty good right now. We think about it like, oh, no, I don't need another coffee. I have enough energy. That's not the only type of energy that our bodies are making. There's also this cellular energy that we may not feel. And so this may look like, for example, all the mitochondria are making energy so that our liver can do all the things that the liver needs to do, right? So we may not feel not energized or tired because our liver's not working right, but we sure are going to see issues with our blood sugar. We're going to see detoxification issues and things like that. So yes, there's energy in this sense of like, I feel energized, but then there's another type of energy, this cellular energy, where it's like, do my organs and cells have enough energy to do all the hundreds and thousands of processes that they need to do at every second? So whether it's mitophagy or autophagy or healing a cell or taking out, getting toxins out or something, like there's so many tasks that need to happen. It's that those perhaps little tasks, they're not getting done. It's like, oh, okay, we got done these 100 tasks, but there's, 600 other ones left. Yeah, we don't have enough energy to do those things. So then we get that like aging and breakdown and chronic disease and things that we're like, oh, where is this coming from? But it most often it's coming from our mitochondria not being able to get that spark to make enough energy that it needs. That's something that I've found. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's something very important, and it's important to mention and not keep outside of the equation, because if we think of mitochondria as powerful environmental sensors, and if we also look back and think about how mitochondria evolved, they evolved to get a lot of sunlight during the day, equally a lot of darkness at night.
Yes.
And it's this light and dark patterns that allow the mitochondria to orient themselves to whether it's daytime or nighttime. And therefore, when it's daytime, they optimize energy production. And when it's nighttime, they optimize repair, healing, and rejuvenation. So I say light drives evolution and energy, and darkness drives repair, regeneration, and healing. And you mentioned autophagy, apoptosis, and mitophagy. Those are the cellular cleaning crew,
Hmm.
and without which we can't properly function. In fact, did you know that 50 to 70 billion cells die every day through a process called apoptosis? And here's the beautiful thing: for every cell that dies, a new, healthier one is supposed to be reborn. And
Hmm.
this is how your body is constantly revitalizing and recreating itself.
Yeah.
Now, for you to understand the significance of the cellular cleaning crew that you mentioned, imagine your body as a house. If you stop taking the trash out, at first you wouldn't notice, but day after day, the trash will start piling up.
Hmm.
And eventually, your home will become extremely toxic and unlivable.
Hmm.
And this is exactly what happens to the cells and to the mitochondria when they don't undergo proper cellular cleaning
Yes.
because of lack of sunlight during the day and exposure to artificial lights after the sunset. And the results, we start feeling it: exhaustion, mental fatigue, fog, anxiety, depression. You name it. All of these names are unbalanced effects stemming from the one cause of living an alienated life from the source of our energy, which is nature. And nature has a very specific rhythm of light and darkness, and literally this rhythm sets every aspect of our life. It allows our body to know when to go to sleep, when to wake up. It also controls how well we sleep and how rested we feel when we wake up. This light and dark pattern control the production of all the hormones that control the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we perform every single day. In fact, when we go out in the sun first thing in the morning, sunlight entering the eyes convert amino acids like tryptophan into serotonin, which makes us feel happy, and then later convert into melatonin, allowing us to sleep better, and tyrosine into dopamine. And dopamine is this miraculous molecule that allow us to think outside of the box, sit up and pay attention, and have the motivation to go after what we really want in life. And the good news is the body is supposed to replace 20% of its old mitochondria with new mitochondria through a process called mitophagy every single day.
Every
So,
day?
yes, yes. So,
20% replacement every day.
so,
Wow.
so in less than a week, we could completely be totally renewed and revitalized. And this explains the transformation that I had on the farm and
Hmm.
why I was able to feel so good in as short as 3 days. And why
Yeah.
so many people in my circle that I realized they had a light problem were able to reverse their issues, ranging from acne, digestive issues, inflammation, food sensitivity, you name it. Once they solved their light problem, they were able to reverse their issues and heal very, very fast.
Yeah. I see that too with my clients, that the changes that they get from implementing light strategies are like the speed of, it feels like the speed of light as opposed to, with things with nutrition, sometimes things are a little bit more gradual. But sometimes you get, yes, there are some gradual changes as well, but sometimes you see a really marked difference. And I think that has to do with the body getting that signaling that you were talking about. Like, it's telling our body what to do. So we may have the precursors for thyroid hormone, but if we never get that light signal that says, yep, convert the tyrosine into T4 and T3, then we may never get the release of that hormone. So that's where looking at nutrition from just, food and supplements and not considering the signaling from our environment and the light, we're just missing a huge piece of the puzzle. It's not that the biochemistry is not there or happening or relevant. It's that the light environment gives everything a context, and it's incomplete without considering that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Beautifully said. And
Thank you.
when I hear you say that the light environment gives everything a context,
Mm-hmm.
what comes to mind also is like it's the light environment that allow us to synchronize our internal terrain with our environment. In fact,
Yes.
we have trillions of mitochondria and cells in our body, and each has an internal clock sitting in front of it, all
Mm-hmm.
of which are connected to one central clock in the brain called the circadian clock. And this circadian clock relies primarily on two main things to maintain our body in sync with its environment. Number one is morning sunlight and sunlight later in the day. And number two is the absence of light at a consistent time every day after the sunset. This literally provides the context of time so that the body knows when to do what. In fact, we live in a dualistic world of good and bad, and we're constantly like thinking, oh, this hormone is good, oh, this hormone is bad. But in reality, there's no such a thing like good or bad. It's all context, and it's all relative to whether it's being secreted in the right time at the right quantity. Take the example of cortisol. Cortisol is extremely helpful first thing in the morning. When sunlight enters our eyes, cortisol goes up, allows us to feel alert, energized, and ready for the day. Now, take that same hormone and put it in a different context where it's being released after the sunset. It actually destroys the cellular cleaning crew, autophagy, apoptosis, and mitophagy. It causes us to age. It makes us feel wired, stimulated, and anxious. And this explains why so many people stay up late at night and they think to themselves, oh, I'm a night owl. But the truth is, you don't have a night owl problem. You have a light problem. And cortisol, one of its role is to provide sugar for the muscles so that we can run away from that tiger, fight and flight. And with all these artificial lights on after the sunset, the body is continuously running away from that predator without having a tiger in the room. And this has been validated by a German scientist back in the 1970s. His name is Fritz Holwisch. And when your blood glucose is this light literally causes your blood glucose to spike without you eating a single bite. It's crazy. And when your blood glucose is chaotic, it affects everything: your thinking, your decision making, your relationships, your sleep.
Your
And
moods.
over time, also when your cortisol is chronically high, it's causing your pancreas to continuously secrete insulin. And one of cortisol's role actually is to suppress the effects of insulin. So the cortisol is high, your pancreas is continuously secreting insulin, and cortisol is blocking insulin. Over time, this leads to insulin resistance and eventually type 2 diabetes without you eating a single bite.
And this is why I changed the name of my podcast to Light Up Your Metabolism, because I learned this stuff and I can't not talk about light. We can't talk about metabolic health and blood sugar and insulin and not talk about light. We have to include it in the conversation because it's that important and it's that dysregulating for people. I see people eating the most pristine diet and they think the answer is I need to go lower with my carbs. They're eating a 0-carb diet. They're like, I can't eat any fewer carbs. And so they start eating fewer meals. And they're like, I can't eat any less. And then their body is just pumped with cortisol all the time. And they're struggling and they're at their wits' end. And it's like, we have to consider your light environment. We have to consider the signals that what it is telling your body when you're supposed to be resting, repairing, healing, and your body's like, nope, time to fight this threat and run from the tiger. And like, you're just getting that signal whether you want to or not. So we're unfortunately we're naive in that we don't know that we're accidentally harming our health in this way. And I think it's like, this is why this stuff is so powerful and why I see such amazing results with people with their blood sugar regulation by literally using your glasses. And it's the coolest thing. And one more thing I wanted to share is that I love that you're talking about the idea that the mitochondria really need a brightness by day and a darkness by night. And if you look at our modern world, we are in this like chronic twilight. So it's like the light, the amount of light, like the lux of light inside is nowhere near the brightness of outside during the bright day. So we're at like a really this like dim light. So maybe it's equivalent to, again, like twilight. And then at night, we flip the lights on. And again, this is like, it's too bright for the nighttime. So again, we're staying at this twilight. So all day we're twilighting. So we're never, building, repairing, feeling energized and metabolizing and digesting our food well. And because it's dampened. And then we're never fully healing and restoring and repairing because again, it's too up. So that's it's such, when you can see it like that and you look at, we need something like that yin and yang, where it's like the black and the white. We actually need this big dichotomy in our day instead of this. It's like the only thing where we need like a big dichotomy. Whereas with hormones, you were saying it's not good and bad. It's the quantity. It's the amount. We want, like it to be in this happy range, like our blood sugar. We don't want it too high. We don't want it too low. But with light, we need brightness and we need darkness. And those things can really help to move these things, to move things in the right direction.
Beautifully said, because in fact, everything in our reality operates on contrast. And everything, whether it's in business or in relationship or in nature, every system is composed of polar opposites that must interchange and balance. And those are two opposing forces sitting on the opposite side of each other and interchanging, and one becomes the other. And in this scenario, we're talking about light and darkness, and we need that massive contrast for our circadian clock to operate properly so that we can know when it's daytime and when it's nighttime. And I love what you said, because I want you to imagine the soft glow of a full moon. It's a 1 lux of natural brightness. Can you even remember when was the last time you were able to experience this peacefulness and magic? Probably not, because we live in a modern world where your living room at night is lit with 500 to 1,000 lux of artificial light brightness. Now bear with me. Do the math. Your homes are 1,000 times brighter than nature intended. Now visualize a beautiful, peaceful, glowing cerulean sky in the morning. 100,000 lux of natural brightness. Your cat may be enjoying that, but when you are inside the office, you're under 1,000 lux, and that's 1,000 times less bright than what nature intended. So, in a way, we are living upside down, and no wonder our brains are constantly confused. And that literally leads us to continuously secrete the wrong hormones at the wrong time. And I
in
want
the
to
wrong
come
amount.
back to the word you said, Daniel. It's
Mhm.
sticking with me a lot. Context. We're not giving the right context for our bodies to thrive like they are meant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. So we're living in a space that's way too dim by day. We're living in a space that's way too bright by night. Is this a good time to talk about your 7 steps, about the glasses? Can we start bringing in some solutions to people who need it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, and the beautiful thing is, regardless of all this madness, I can confidently tell you that there is a way to thrive in a modern world of artificial lighting. However, we definitely need to live with intention. We need to be deliberate about every little step of the day and how we're living our lives.
Yeah.
And over the years, I've noticed that there were like some steps that I was taking that completely transformed my relationship to day and night and to nature. And those are really simple steps. They're free. I have shared those steps for thousands of people, and everybody who've implemented them saw phenomenal results. Now, all they take is your commitment and dedication. They're almost free, really. Sometimes it's the hardest to give commitment and dedication. However, what I urge you to do is to try those steps for 7 days. And after 7 days, I really guarantee you that you don't need to hear my voice again telling you what to do because you will be convinced yourself. It's phenomenal. And once your body experiences the results, like it start doing it on its own. It doesn't need any convincing from me or from Daniel or from any other person out online telling you what to do. So try those steps for 7 days. Step number one: waking up, go outside and get morning sunlight for at least 20 minutes. If it's cloudy, 30 minutes. If it's overcast, at least 45 to 50 minutes. And this morning sunlight entering your eyes is the most effective cup of coffee. It's going to increase your cortisol and adrenaline, makes you feel alert, awake, energized, ready to tackle the day. Step number two: about an hour and a half to 2 hours after sunrise, you need to go outside again and get UVA light. Very few health experts tell you about this. There's so many people telling you about how important your morning sunlight is and how important it is to avoid screens 1 hour before bedtime. But the reality is, this is not enough. If you want to really harness the power of light, you got to walk the extra mile. And those are like things that will really energize you. You're not like taking away from yourself in any way. In fact, you're adding to yourself in every way. So another 15 minutes outside when UVA arises. And UVA is a phenomenal frequency that your eye doctor tells you that you need to be blocking it. But how come we need to be blocking a frequency that activates the thyroid gland and the endocrine system that allows us to convert serotonin, that allow us to make serotonin, the hormone that makes us happy, dopamine, the hormone that makes us motivated, and that activate POMC, which can become so many different peptides and neurotransmitters that you need in order to operate at your best. Now, step number three: taking sun breaks every 2 to 3 hours. And even if the sun appears to not be there behind the cloud, you're still getting like
The correct
a
signal.
lot more brightness and nourishing frequencies of light compared to your indoor environment. And
Yeah.
if you were to be like a tremendously busy person, or your schedule doesn't allow you because you're working at a hospital and they're very strict with you, I empathize with that. But what I urge you to do, if you were to take one sun break, take it around solar noon when UVB is in the environment, and UVB not only allow you to make vitamin D, but allow you also to make beta endorphins, your body's natural painkiller. If you've ever had, back pain, any different aches, literally, beta endorphins is the body's natural opioid. It allows you to overcome pain, and it's a natural feel good hormone. Also plays a role in manufacturing alpha MCH, beta MCH, and gamma MCH, which not only allow you to tan and become attractive, but increases your libido. It decreases inflammation. It decreases blood pressure, and it helps you to regulate your hunger level. In fact, there's so many research showing the lack of alpha MCH is linked to obesity. And we could go on and on about weight gain and how blue light actually destroys vitamin A in your eyes. And the research that is showing that lack of vitamin A is also linked to obesity. So on one side, you have sunlight that allows you to rely less on food. On the other side, you have artificial light that destroys certain vitamins and enzymes in your body that makes you gain weight. So step number 4, when you are inside, wearing a circadian harmonizing lenses that allow you to manage the light that is entering your eyes. Now, I could share my screen here because I want to show some graph of what the lenses actually do here. So bear with me. All right, so just to cover this, because I think it's important, what we're looking at here is the difference between full spectrum sunlight and the spectrum of LEDs that we're continuously exposing our eyes and our bodies to. As you can see, the LEDs spike at 455 nanometer in blue light. They have this very narrow spike of blue, not even full spectrum blue light. And the one difference between sunlight and the LEDs is that the blue light from the sun comes in full spectrum, and it comes symbiotically with the other frequencies of colors that balance out that blue. In fact, we've never, ever, throughout all of our evolution, been exposed to a narrow spike of blue light that doesn't symbiotically come with its polar opposite, the yellow, orange, and red light. And this is why this blue light during the day causes inflammation, and at night it destroys our circadian biology. Now,
so I just wanted to explain for people who are not listening, not watching on YouTube and are just listening to the audio, we're looking at 2 graphs right now. And the one with the sunlight, you see a whole rainbow of colors at sort of this high amount. So basically the full sunlight is all these colors, all the colors of the rainbow in almost an equal amount, very high amounts of all of them. And then we're looking at a regular LED light bulb, which all of our light bulbs now, almost all of them are LED because they're starting to ban the incandescent bulbs because of, quote, energy efficiency, because those other lights, they give off heat, and that's infrared light. And so in order to make things more energy efficient, they don't want it to heat. So these LED bulbs have a big peak, a big spike at that 455 nanometer, which is, like you said, that color blue. And it's really low in all the other color blues. There's kind of like a hump around the greens, and then it tapers off. There's almost no red in there. There's some yellow, but no reds, no infrareds. And so it's this really, it looks extremely unnatural. It looks very weird. So, our biology also perceives it as very unnatural. So we all know the artificial form of food is very foreign to our body, very not good for our body. And the same thing goes with the light here. So you can go on.
absolutely. And I love that you connected it to the food, because we all know, for example, or at least health seekers know, that we need a balanced diet consisting of the full spectrum of vitamins and minerals in order to thrive. Now, when it comes to light, just like food entering our mouth nourishes us, light entering our eyes nourish every aspect of us. And every frequency of light activate different enzymes that are related to metabolism and our ability to metabolize food and burn fat. So we need all of these frequencies coming symbiotically together to live a balanced lifestyle. And just like over consuming one mineral causes our body it causes intoxication and it makes us sick. Also, overconsumption of one frequency of light makes us sick. In this case, it's this narrow spike at 455 nanometer from blue light that we're over consuming it. We're feasting on it.
Yes.
So the VivaRays daytime lenses, those are blue harmonizers. And essentially what they're doing, they're decreasing the sharpness of the blue light at 455 nanometer, and they're spreading it across the spectrum. So we're getting more of the green, yellow, orange, and reds to balance out the blue. And we're doing this without blocking too much blue light, because the reality is our brains rely on blue light signaling so that we know it's daytime, so that we can feel energized, alert, and ready for the day. And when we block too much of that blue light during the day, like other yellow tinted lenses, which I'm going to show here, these are some other yellow tinted glasses in the market, which back in the days when VivaRays just started, we used to use that same tint. And then we steered away from it, because what we realized is while the eye strain and the headaches were disappearing, we start noticing that we were starting to feel tired and low on energy during the day, which we're not supposed to feel like this. And eventually we realized that those glasses were blocking all of the blue at 455 nanometer. And in the process of doing this, they're wiping out about 95% of the blue turquoise at 480 nanometer, which is the frequency that our melanopsin in the eyes, the photoreceptors that tell the brain whether it's daytime or nighttime, they're most sensitive to blue turquoise at 480 nanometer. So essentially, they block way too much blue light, and they cause you to become tired and exhausted at the wrong time of the day.
Yeah.
Also,
I have.
yeah,
Oh, sorry.
go
Keep
ahead.
going.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I have the VivaRays daytime lenses on, so they're slightly yellow tinted, and I've had them on this whole podcast, and I'm not like kind of getting tired or dozing off. So you may notice that if you have other yellow lenses that are not the VivaRays, if they make you feel tired, chances are they're blocking out this important the wavelengths of blue light. And so we want to lessen. So what I'm getting from you is that we want to lessen that peak, because we don't want it to be such an intense amount and spike of the blue light, but we don't want none of it either. So we need some, and you said that it allows us to get a little bit more of the balance of the blues, but not completely blocking it out during the day.
Absolutely. So ideally, the goal is to harmonize it and make it more balanced and proportionate with the other frequencies of colors, just like we get it in nature. Of course, with the VivaRays glasses, as we look at the graph here, we're not getting full spectrum as we get it in sunlight, but still the blue light became a lot more balanced and proportionate with the green, yellow, orange, and red light.
Yep. Amazing.
Now let's contrast this with the clear blue light blocking glasses. Those are very, very, very famous. In fact, now, last time I was in the US, I was in Orlando, I went to Whole Foods, and it blew my mind to see that they're selling clear blue light blocking glasses even in Whole Foods.
They are. Wow, I haven't seen that.
Yes, you can get those at your optometrist office. They usually charge you a lot of money for them. You could also get
blue
them
blocking into your prescription glasses. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And essentially, it's crazy because we live in a world where hypes like this could spread like fire without ever taking the time to test whether they're actually effective or not. And in this case, those clear blue blockers are absolute waste of time and money. Now, why is that? Because this blue light pen that we are seeing here in the graph, what those companies do to trick you, they create an ad where they shine a blue light using a light pen on the lenses, and they show you that the lenses are effectively blocking that blue light. But the reality is this pen is emitting blue-purple light at 410 or 420 nanometer. And the LED lights do not emit any blue light or any blue purple light at 420 nanometer. In fact, their emission starts at 430 nanometer and it spikes at 455 nanometer. So if you want to visualize this, it's like trying to rinse or trying to filter out your quinoa in a pasta strainer. The quinoa will end up passing through the holes because you're using the wrong filters. This is exactly what happens with clear blue light blocking glasses.
So to sum up, clear blue blocking glasses are not effective. They work, but they're not effective at all because they're blocking the wrong frequency of light. We're not concerned with the blue purple light that they block. We're more concerned with a different wavelength. So not the 420, but more the 455 nanometers. So it's not effective for that light. So it does not help at all.
Absolutely. They work to block the blue purple light. But the reality is we're not concerned with blue purple light because it's not emitted from the harmful sources that we're exposed to. Yeah. Now, here's where the tragedy is. The tragedy is if you're someone who wears prescription lenses, you go to your optometrist office, they'll convince you to put this blue light coating on it. You'll pay an extra $200. But guess what happens? Now you're out in the sun and you're missing on UVA, UVB, and blue purple light, which is absolutely disastrous to your hormones. We came up with a solution, by the way, Daniel. I don't know if I shared this with you previously, but we have right now something called the 4-in-1, where it's only for people who wear prescription. Yeah. And the base frame in prescription allow people to absorb all the blue purple light and 50 to 60% more UVA and UVB, so that when they're out in the sun and if they're performing any activity that requires them to see, now they have their glasses on and without needing to think about it, they're still getting that healthy light into their eyes.
Yeah. What I see as, and you let me know what you think about this, what I think is even worse is the transition lenses where they go outside and now they've become sunglasses, and even just sunglasses in general. Like we're hearing all this about how important it is for us to get all the wavelengths of light into our eyes from the sun. And we're in these dim homes and then we walk outside and then we dim the light in a broad sense. And I see this with, a lot of elderly people, like all their glasses now have this, the transition lenses, and even young kids now are starting to have those transition lenses, and they break my heart because it's like these people who need glasses to see are now never getting the right signal into their eyes. And it, like you said, it has devastating effects on our hormones, on our circadian rhythm, on every single aspect of health, because light impacts every single aspect of our health.
Very sad, very well said as well. It's very sad because most people don't know. The truth is that when I was in the conference, a guy called John came to our booth with his sunglasses, and I was explaining to him about light, and it clicked suddenly in his mind. He said he's originally from Africa, and his eye doctor today is telling him to wear sunglasses because the sun is completely dangerous to his eyes. He's sharing with me that his health completely declined and he has autoimmune disease. And I asked him a question. I said, John, go back to the time when you were in Africa. How were you back then? And he said, that he was spending most of his days outside in the sun. He stayed in Africa up until the age of 18. And taking him back to that time, John remembered that during that time, he felt the best he've ever felt in his life. And then coming back to the US, slowly he got indoctrinated into blocking sunlight and wearing sunscreens and spending all of his day indoors. And he developed an autoimmune disease. And John actually thought that he's doing something good by wearing his sunglasses because his optometrist told him that now he's protecting his eyes. And it wasn't until John heard me speaking and then heard my presentation afterward that he had a phenomenal revelation, and he's like, oh my God. And it's very sad.
Yeah, it is, especially for people who have equatorial ancestry, and their ancestors have lived in tons of sunlight, and people who have naturally darker skin, and then they move to climates like, you being in Canada, that's a mismatch, for you're not getting the amount of light that your skin requires because you have naturally darker skin. And so this man from Africa, maybe you were in Orlando, so there's a better chance he was getting, could get UVB light all year round. But a lot of times people who have this equatorial ancestry, they're moving to areas where there's not UVB all year round. And so it's even more important for them to embrace all the light they can get, and keeping in mind that they do have natural sunscreen. That's what melanin is. They have natural sunscreen already. So it takes more and more sunlight to penetrate through that melanin. And we don't want to be blocking the sun any more than it's already being blocked or limited in that area.
Absolutely. So after the sunset, so coming back to the steps, we said step number 4. Step number 5 is going out around sunset and being in that environment, watching the sunset directly or indirectly. Remember, light is information. It's going to help you to sleep better. It's going to help you to wind down and relax in the evening. Step number 6, when you come back home, if you have control over your light environment, turn off those overhead light and light up some candles and some Himalayan salt lamps. And this will allow you to create a more cozy environment that is more conducive to feeling warm, relaxing, and winding down. And lastly, step number 7, and this involves 2 little things in it. Number 1 is after the sunset, at a consistent time every day, wearing the VivaRays evening lenses. And all you need to do, if you're seeing me on camera, or clipping on the evening onto the base frame. If you're not seeing me, those are clips that clip seamlessly onto the base frame, so you don't need to change different frames. And what these evening lenses are designed to do, they filter out 100% of the blue and strategically some of the green, so that we reach a color temperature of 1700 kelvins, which is the exact color temperature of the bonfire. And the goal there is to help your nervous system wind down and relax. Also, the goal is to eliminate those frequencies of light that will confuse your brain about the time of the day and causing you to secrete the wrong hormones like cortisol at the wrong time of the day. And this is exactly why I highlighted the word consistently, because most people think, oh, I'll wear these glasses only when I'm working on my computer. However, the light problem is way beyond your screens and your computer. It's in every corner of your life. It's in the light bulb of your fridge, in your living room, and the hotels, and the airports, down the streets.
And my neighbors,
exactly.
My neighbors' lights, the street lights, the car lights, it's all coming in through my windows.
Exactly. And what your circadian rhythm is waiting for is the consistent signal of the absence of blue and green light after the sunset. And this is what these glasses will help you with. Now, I wanted to take show a quick graph to compare, for example, some other orange tinted glasses that we've tested. If you're seeing here, the VivaRays glasses take out all of the blue and the green up to 530 nanometer. Whereas here we're seeing still blue light from 480 nanometer up until 530 nanometer entering. Now, the impact there is not only that blue and green light is entering, but what we saw also is that the VivaRays evening lenses, they decrease the brightness by 4 times. Whereas those other orange tinted glasses, they only decrease the brightness by 1.5 times. Another thing that was very interesting, the VivaRays glasses dropped the color temperature to 1700 kelvins, which is the exact color temperature of the fire, whereas the other glasses had a color temperature of 2,400 kelvins, which is way higher than the fire color temperature.
Interesting.
And 1 hour before bedtime, I would remove the evening lenses and I will switch to the nighttime lenses. And as you can see here in the graph, those
These are like,
block all of the blue and all of the green as well. And the most technology that I love about the red lenses is that they actually decrease the brightness by 10 times, which I have personally compared to many of the expensive and very well known brands with red tinted lenses. And the best of them was able to decrease the brightness only by 4 times. And here's what most people don't know. It's not only about blue and green light, it's also about brightness, because bright light of any color can trigger, can suppress your melatonin production and shift your circadian clock in the wrong direction, disrupting your sleep and disrupting your hormones. So
I
that's one
wanted to
thing I really.
mention there with the brightness on that topic is that a lot of people are kind of confusing for example, red light bulbs that I use at night or that some people use at night, because these don't really interfere. The color doesn't interfere with our circadian rhythm and the release of melatonin, but red light therapy, which this has been on me the whole time, like a red light therapy panel, this is extremely bright. So this could be used as a room light, but you want to make sure I always face it towards the wall, so you're not getting that bright, the brightness in your eye, but you don't want to use it at a close range after the sun is down. So red light bulbs are different from red light therapy panels because the brightness is still important. So that's why, like, that's just something else I wanted to add, because I think that there's quite a lot of confusion there. So people are using these red light therapy panels before bed thinking, oh, red light at night. So we want to use potentially a red light bulb, or I like to call it like fire toned lighting, like you mentioned, candles or a Himalayan salt lamp. I like orange light bulbs, even maybe a dim incandescent bulb to light up your space at night, because that should, that's going to be the right color. That's not going to be interfering, but we don't want to do any light that's way too bright.
Yes,
Would you agree?
absolutely. Essentially,
Yeah.
like a lot of this confusion stems from studies showing that the photoreceptor in the eye, melanopsin, is most sensitive to blue light and is
Yeah.
less sensitive to orange and red light. However, though it is less sensitive to orange and red light, the amount of light arriving at the level of the eye also plays a role. So it's not only the frequency of light, it's also the amount of light, which is measured in lux or brightness. And it's worthy to note that melanopsin is not the only photoreceptor in the eye that trigger our circadian clock. In fact, the rods and the cones, which are visual photoreceptors, also have non-visual effects and trigger our circadian biology. And those two have a different response to the different wavelengths of light. So this is exactly why, like, bright light, even if it's orange and red light, will actually activate all of these different photoreceptors and disrupt our circadian biology.
Yeah, really helpful. So we also have photoreceptors on our.
Okay, so
Oh,
I also wanted
can you hear me?
to. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. I just wanted. Sorry, we had a little glitch of the connection. We also have photoreceptors on our skin, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So yeah,
We
how do
do
we
have
work with that?
melanopsin in the skin, and it's a very controversial topic on whether that affects our circadian rhythm or not. There has been no direct study showing that the melanopsin in the skin is connected to our circadian biology in any way. However, on a personal level, I do think that regardless of the fact that it may not be connected to shifting our circadian clock, it's actually a type of light that will activate different enzymatic reactions in the skin at the wrong time of the day.
Mm.
And I personally and intuitively, without having like a study to back it up necessarily, think that it's best to avoid light arriving at the skin at night.
Yeah. So covering up, we're wearing our glasses, but kind of covering up your skin as much as possible as well, especially if there's, direct blue light shining on you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I personally also have done like personal tests with the Aura Ring and
Mm-hmm.
measuring my sleep with and without covering my skin, and I haven't seen any differences in my REM or NREM sleep.
Okay.
Nevertheless, I still think that things like blood glucose and insulin are could be very much affected by that light shining on our skin.
Yeah, I think so too.
And yeah,
Awesome.
the last thing I wanted to show is so as I mentioned, we've tested like dozens and dozens and dozens of lenses in the market, and that this brand was a very remarkable one. It's a very well known brand. I don't want to mention names that give a lot of promises about blocking blue and green light, and I was shocked when I measured their lenses. Though their lenses looked perfectly red, on the light mirror when I measured, as you can see here in the graph, there's a massive spike of blue light at 455 that was still entering, and little spikes of green, and that's the reason why I share this is because many people think that if the lens is orange or if it's red, it means that's it, it's doing the work it's supposed to do. But in
Mm.
reality, I've measured many orange lenses and many red lenses, and for the most majority, what I've seen, this is an extreme case here, but for the most majority, I've seen a lot of light leakages coming in small quantities at different wavelengths, ranging between the blue and green, still passing through the lenses. And this is not optimal at all.
Wow. Well, that's definitely helpful to see. So if you guys have a chance to hopefully see that on YouTube, I put that link in the show notes for you all in case you want to see the actual graphs. But Roudy, is there anything else that you feel like is important to say about the glasses, about light that we haven't covered yet?
The only thing I would say is like these steps are very simple to implement. Anybody, really anybody, could start doing them starting tomorrow. So, what I would highly recommend anybody listening is really like dedicate yourself to practicing those steps for at least 7 days and experience the difference for yourself. At that point, hopefully, I don't need to convince you anymore. And at that point, you will start to realize that the quality of light that enter your eyes is entirely determining the quality of your life and your well-being. And another thing I want to say, if this resonates with you, be the light of the world, be that change you're seeking for, and really share with everybody you know, because those are like simple little things that could transform the life of our loved ones. I've experienced this firsthand when I saw the transformation with my mother, who was battling insomnia for over 8 years and was able to overcome this in as short of 7 days. And I've seen this over and over again. And also yesterday, hearing some of your stories of clients who were able to overcome chronic issues. So do not like, sometimes when we first hear this information, we feel some level of fear, needing to like hide and protect ourselves from that blue light. Do not allow this to enter your consciousness. Do your best, be the light of the world, and be the change you're seeking for.
I love that. And my good friend Molly Eastman, she and I are both big fans of your glasses, of VivaRays. And when we go out in the evening, we'll go to a networking event, or heaven forbid a dinner that runs past sunset. But we always have our blue blockers on, and I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh my gosh, I have some, but I was kind of intimidated to bring them, or I didn't want to bring mine. I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to look weird.
Yes,
And I say, I don't want to mess up my sleep and my circadian rhythm. So
absolutely.
I don't care. And, I really don't care what other people think of me. I care more about how I feel and how I'm going to feel the next day. And like I said at the beginning, I went from trying to remember to wear these glasses to not being able to live without them. The feeling of these lights in my eyes, and I get so many people saying, "Oh my god, I thought it was just me. These lights feel horrible on me." Or I started wearing the glasses and then I didn't have them, I didn't take them on vacation and it was terrible. Like I feel it so much. You will start to become sensitive to how those lights are impacting you. And I think that, our kiddos with ADHD and attention issues or mood issues, they are, and, you are some of the most sensitive ones where you're feeling this impact. But even if you're not feeling it, it is impacting you in another way. It's these artificial lights are actually dimming our natural light. And so, yeah,
Absolutely. And Daniel, I wanted to highlight a few things. One, thank you for your courage, and like for you and people like Molly, people like Sarah Kleiner, Kerry Bennett, all of
mm,
these wonderful like warrior women who have the courage to like live the message, because you're creating a phenomenal impact. And this is exactly what we need. We need people doing the right things, and we need to love ourselves enough to be able to overcome the fear of being judged. Because at the end of the road, who cares? We're doing this so that we can sleep better and we can be the best version of ourselves. And not only this, we're actually doing this so that we can be of service to the world, so that we can show up in this world as the best version of ourselves and be able to serve others in the best way possible.
mm.
And the judgment of others and what others says play a very little role in how we're going to show up and the impact that we're going to be creating in this world. So first, thank you so much for this. And the second thing I wanted to mention is I'm gonna share with you like a QR code or even a
Mhm.
link,
Sure.
so that people could download the 7 steps in greater details with the hormones
Yeah.
connected to every step. And this resource, I'm going also to include things like what to do if you're wearing contact lenses and prescription lenses.
Yes.
Also, the resource of the new Sarah Kleiner created an amazing circadian app, and this
Hmm.
is an app that
Yes, I was
tells
going to
you
mention it. Yeah.
exactly when to go outside, and it
When
will remind
UVA
you
is, when
at
yeah.
exactly, it will be like your little reminder to remember to go out and get that sun. It's very important.
Yes.
And I will be including some really amazing resources on how to filter blue light on your phone, on your screen, things like this. So if anybody is interested, you can download those resources with the link that I'm going to send you, Daniel.
Mhm.
And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, amazing. And of course, we have the link for VivaRays. My discount code is Danny Health. That's usually my my code for everything. And thank you so much for giving my audience a discount on these amazing glasses. And I will say it is an investment, but I wear these glasses every single day, and I've had these for years now. So the amount that they actually cost per use is like pennies, less than pennies. So it really is such an important investment. I feel like so many people have no problem buying a bottle, like a couple of bottles of supplements, but when it's like get a pair of really good quality glasses, everyone hesitates. And I understand, because you don't understand it's like, what is this actually going to do? You hear these stories of people using blue blockers and saying this didn't work for me. Well, it's like, we're not talking about the clear ones that are ineffective. We're talking about these ones that are like markedly having impacts on our physiology. So I will tell you, it is so, so worth it. I would say it's probably my number one tool for protecting my circadian rhythm. And like I said, I use them every single day, and you will find that you will be using them every single day too. So thanks again for coming on, for all this great information. And we'll link everything in the show notes. And you guys can follow Roudy on and VivaRays on Instagram, and we'll leave all those links as well. So thanks again.